Welcome to the Tekitok podcast, where we embark on a journey through the ever-evolving realm of SAP and IT operations, automation, artificial intelligence, and cloud technologies. Whether you're an IT professional, a business leader, or simply curious about emerging technologies and industry insights, our episodes will be your compass in navigating this dynamic landscape with real-world experiences. Join us as we demystify complex concepts, explore innovative trends, and engage in stimulating dialogue with industry experts to empower you with insights that matter. The views expressed by our hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the opinions of their respective companies. The producer of this Tekitok podcast assumes no responsibility for any public content, ideas, or recommendations shared.
All right. Welcome. We're gonna do this fist pump. Okay, this is SAP Insider 2024 in Vegas, and glad to be back again. This last year was the first one they brought it back. I think it was in person. I think the year before that there wasn't one. So I'm really happy to be here with you. I think last year we met up and we kind of had a lot of conversations. So I'm really happy to have a guest here, right? So Cristina heads up the North America AWS SAP partnership and all that. So I'll let you introduce yourself. But this Tekitok podcast is really talking about people, what we bring in technology and process. So much moving, changing all the time. So it's interesting to get perspective, not entirely about technology, but somewhere in between, and why some trends and hot buzzwords and things like that. So I am thrilled to have you here as a guest. Thank you very much, Cristina. So,
thank you for having me.
Tell us about what you've been up to for the last year and everything else in between.
So as you mentioned, I lead the SAP Alliance and the partner community for North America and Latin America. But North America is SAP's largest market, so that's where I'm spending a lot of my time. And our alliance with SAP has really gotten much more strategic and has really strengthened in the past year. I think that is one of the things that is new. And we have really leaned in to RISE as SAP's go-to-market. This year in 2024, RISE is what we call an S-team goal for us. So it's one of our top goals, one of our top priorities as a company. And we really want to be supporting SAP and customers as they're making this journey, right? Because we understand that it is a journey. And the other thing that we understand as we work with our partner community is, this is not a simple transformation for customers, right? There are a lot of decisions to make about their infrastructure, about their business processes, about their data. And so one of the things that we're working with SAP and the SAP partner community is helping customers make the right decisions, helping them make the right assessments for their business, helping them evaluate their business processes, helping them understand how they need to shore up their custom code, right? There's a lot that goes into that. And I think AWS is really working hard to be the right partner, both for SAP, for customers, and for the partner community that's bringing all of that together. So really excited about what we're doing with SAP and spending a lot of time with the AWS field and the SAP field, getting them aligned as we're talking to customers about this joint message. The other thing that we've really advanced as our partnership with SAP plus the partner community is the BTP, Business Technology Platform, and a joint reference architecture that we have, and really helping customers and partners understand how they can innovate. And all of this innovation, by the way, we can't have a podcast and not say Gen AI, right? So by the time, but you can't take advantage of generative AI in an on-premise scenario with, aging software and hardware, right? You have to take advantage of the cloud. So we're really excited to be helping customers understand how to adopt the cloud, how to do that safely, securely, cost effectively, and then take advantage of all the innovation that they can do around that. So it's really fun.
It's a big convergence.
Oh, it is. This, right? It's such a convergence, right? And it's so much fun, and it's so challenging. But I think that's what I love about technology. I mean, think about this for a minute, Lynn. You and I are old enough that we were around at the birth of computers when they were as big as the room that we're sitting in right now,
Yes.
right? to client server, to World Wide Web, right? To cloud, and now we're still here, and it's generative AI, right? And when you think, we are just really at the very beginning of the impact that is going to have on how we do our jobs, how we service customers. I think it is super exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the things that we're going to be announcing later this year about what we're doing with SAP and our generative AI stack, whether it's Bedrock or Code Whisperer or Q, my favorite
Q.
James Bond
Q.
reference, right?
Q.
Amazon Q, right? And Joule and all of those things, right? I think that is just the possibilities are just endless, but you have to get to the cloud first in order to take advantage of all of that. So super exciting, and I'm having a lot of fun with my team, and it's going to be a really exciting year.
You know what? I saw the keynote from Jensen Huang yesterday with NVIDIA kickoff, and it was exciting when he was talking on stage with the whole NVIDIA, AWS, NVIDIA, SAP, talking about all of, for them, that's kind of like almost vertical, right? Before they would just, we provide graphic chips, right? But now they're talking specifically going into specific partners addressing very vertical problems. So for instance, health. Right. All of this AI that's generating a lot of momentum because of the use case.
Who would have thought a chip for healthcare, right?
Right. So SAP. So I think that in a sense is like we talk about convergence. Well, you can't do any of that unless you have the cloud.
Yeah.
You couldn't have all this GPU hosted somewhere in your data center. It's just not enough space and not enough power. So this tells me that what AWS is going to build for like Gen AI and then combining like the business use case of SAP really brings us into this, that's why I guess the team that you working or heading up now is challenging from the fact that you have to work across multiple disciplines all the time, right? Like a partner would come to you and say, we need somebody who's going to help us with extending SAP to Bedrock or analytics or something like that, or Q or M or I for IT-Conductor. so that's your role, if I understand correctly, is to make sure all the partners kind of elevate to SAP, but also what can you plug into?
Right, what happens after that, right? So there's a couple of things I think that you touched upon that I think are really interesting. First is this idea of verticalization and how technology that has traditionally been purely horizontal, like chip manufacturing, going more vertical, right? And I think it's just, again, the natural maturation of technology. So if you think about it, when cloud was first born, it was in the domain of IT, right? Because IT understood it and they had to manage it because it was complicated. But cloud has gotten more ubiquitous. It has gotten easier to consume, easier to understand. I think if it's one thing that the pandemic did is I think it really solidified cloud computing. In people were thinking about cloud that never would have thought about cloud before. And so now it's a business tool. Now it's a business enabler, right? So it only makes sense that we start to think about, when you start thinking about business outcomes, you think about business outcomes in a vertical industry. So AWS this year, our field is now aligning to vertical industries, which I'm sure that wasn't done because of the SAP Alliance, but I would like to think that it did, given that I work with SAP. But I will say that having vertical industry alignment has helped our alignment with SAP, because now what we're working on are for customers and with our partners, business outcome driven, use cases for vertical industries. So, predictive maintenance in manufacturing, right? Or use of PPA in facilities and warehouses, right? So how do you take the capabilities of, once that customer is running SAP in the cloud for their core business processes, and then how do you leverage BTP and native AWS services and generative AI to solve business problems that you could never solve before? So verticalizing the way that we're going to market just makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to be really helpful for customers as well.
I get a lot of questions, and now AWS customers on our platform always asking like, oh yeah, so I moved to the cloud, blah, 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 X number of years. So I'm still moving my SAP. Some of them, in fact, they've taken like the long route where they're moving a little bit at a time, which is good. You know, they're safe. But now they're like, okay, we're almost done. We're almost getting all our ECC and whatever into AWS. What's next? So the question for them is asking like, well, when I'm on AWS, how do I leverage the rest of this technology? So that to me is like the question where traditionally they looked at it as more refreshing infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right? But now they're asking like, yes, how can I actually take advantage? My data's in the cloud. How do I do all this stuff with? And so this AWS team with SAP now bring in different skill sets that you'd see than before, right? Before you'd have like the core SAP guys who knows AWS. And,
yeah.
Right? So now do you see that changing, that skill sets?
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I think there is a lot more data and analytics skill sets than before. There's still a lot of traditional SAP work to be done. Like, let's be clear, that's not going away anytime soon. But it is interesting to me that data and analytics and AI, you know, it is a new set of skill sets. In fact, we as Amazonians are required this year to go get a bunch of AI training.
I see all these certifications
training.
popping up.
I'm behind on mine. I have to get mine done. But we've got industry training to do. We have to get AI training that we have to do. So there are new skill sets. And I think, too, another potential skill set is this idea of really analyzing the data. Like, what are this idea of dashboards. Like, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Q is to be able to have a dashboard and then just be able to say to your dashboard, you know, I need my data to tell me X. Like, I want to know,
what's
for
the
example,
story?
Right. What's the story? As I look as a leader of a partner community, I want to be able to go to my dashboard and say, okay, which partners are growing the fastest right now, and why? Which partners are not growing right now, and why? What industries are they growing the most in? And right now, static dashboards can't tell me that.
Yeah.
But when you integrate Q, it can. And so I feel like there's this new skill set to be able to not just present the data, but these tools present a way for us to be able to tell stories with the data that we
we used to call like, you know, business intelligence, the BI, but then you have to write your own queries and, you know, it's like gets complicated, all these dimensions. Now it's just great to be able to like just sit there and queue a question.
Now a business user can do it.
So now on the other hand, I'm gonna ask like where do you see maybe the typical SAP AWS technical folks? Some of them may feel intimidated. This AI is coming over and taking over their job, and they need to either reskill fast or, you know, the next kid who can actually query ChatGPT or whatever really fast can come on board. Do you see that also as kind of a motivator for people to either skill up or? Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think there's still such a need for basic cloud skills. I mean, as you know, you and I live in a world where we're out on the edge all the time. I don't think that most people are there. Like when I look at the amount of just free basic cloud training that AWS is providing, and the number of people that are consuming that, like even my son who's in 8th grade, he's almost 14, he's learning how to code. But what he's being taught right now is still pretty basic. It's Scratch, it's Python, it's like battle bots, right? He's so even though he uses the cloud every day because he's got Snapchat and YouTube and Fortnite, he's using the cloud every day. Even he's yet not really getting that cloud training. In fact, when you look at most college curriculums, they're not teaching, you know, kids coming out of college with computer science degrees, right? So I don't know if we're there yet where Gen AI is going to take over our jobs. I think there's still so much need to just get the basic cloud training.
I'm with you there because I was a guest on San Diego State University recently. We had a guest speaking. It was a professor that teach MIS to business students, and they were saying, could you talk in a little bit about, you know, just cloud?
Yeah.
And these were like, you know, state university level. So we said, okay, what do I talk about? So I actually brought up I found a very old curriculum from my college days I did in Australia. It was like a computer science engineering, and in there was AI1, AI tools in the course syllabus, and this is 80 something. Right?
Wow.
So I'm thinking, guys, you still need to learn this fundamental because 20, 30 years now, we're still trying, 40 years talking about the same topic. So the fundamental is still required, right? Regardless of what we're talking about Gen AI and all that stuff, the conversation still go back to, you have to understand the foundation of networking, storage, compute, all this stuff before you go and say Gen AI, like what? You still need power, you still need network, right?
Yeah. So, and I think just to kind of wrap up this really interesting conversation, I think that a lot of our customers who've been running SAP on premises, they're still there too, right? And I think it's incumbent upon all of us, and I think that's why conferences like SAP Insider are so important. They're getting educated. I see a lot of customers coming here asking questions, trying to understand. Andy Jassy is famous for saying that only like 10% of IT workloads are in the cloud, right? And we're seeing that. So we have a long way to go, but I do think there's so much exciting stuff happening there at the edge. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to, but I think it's incumbent of all of us as a community to help customers make that journey and make it successfully.
Yeah, I think that's the recent conferences I've been to. The theme has been kind of now people getting excited again about, like for instance, the days where we were like Netscaping or, doing the early Google beta. We're talking about early Google beta user. It was just a prompt.
Yep.
And guess what ChatGPT is and all these conversational AI. It's a prompt.
Yep.
But the prompt is a window into possibilities, right? You're asking, if I went out there now to try and say, give me what a typical recommended architecture for SAP on AWS. Instead of going into a stencil and start drawing something, it's drawing me some architecture deployment scenarios that it got from best practices, blueprints and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of amazing because it's such a time saver. But again, we go back to like, what's foundation? You need to understand the foundation. Yeah. Just like we could still be doing this over Zoom. We could be still doing all this virtual, but why would we if we have this real face-to-face conversation? Because it brings out different dynamics, right? Yeah. People need to interact, we kind of social being and all that stuff. Right. So I'm glad in the partner role though, how are you managing, like, is there a lot of events that AWS, SAP, it seems like every week I'm having a hard time keeping up, like all the events are going on, like ASUG and SAP Inside, Sapphire coming up, and is there going to be a Tech Ed? Tech Ed has not announced, by the way, where they are and if they're going to actually have
I know there was
physical.
one in India last year, I don't know.
Yes, so anyway, how do you keep up with all this stuff?
I don't think I do. You stumped me on that one. I think we all do but it's funny, working at AWS, we move at such a pace that we have learned if you're going to survive, and I've been at AWS 5.5 years now, if you're going to survive at AWS, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable knowing that you're not going to get to all your email. You have to be comfortable knowing that your calendar is double and triple booked every day. And what it teaches you is ruthless prioritization. We use that phrase a lot inside of AWS, ruthless prioritization. And I can tell you, I have never gotten in trouble in 5.5 years for not answering my email. Right? So, and I will tell people, don't email me. I will not see it. I love it, like copying Cristina for visibility. It's not visible. I am not seeing that email. I can tell you I'm not seeing that email because that's not what I'm prioritizing, right? I am prioritizing
you need
face-to-face communication. I need an AI bot for email is what I need. Yeah. But we just ruthlessly prioritize our time and really try to focus on the things that make an impact. And so what I'm here talking to partners about is, sharing with them what our strategy is and then saying, okay, like tell me about your strategy and then where do we find those connection points? How do we go to market together? What is your industry story? Here's the industries that we're focused on. Where do we find joint customers together? How are we going to go build pipeline together? I'm like very, very focused on those go-to-market conversations, and that's just where I choose to spend my time. We've got to move fast, and we have to prioritize, and it's really hard to do both of those things, but we're just threading that needle kind of every day.
I feel your pain. So my one other thing is, if we're talking to new college graduates for something and say, if you want a career SAP is a great career. I remember when I was about to graduate, and I researched and I picked SAP as a career. Like, you guys, how do you know back then to pick SAP? So if they're graduating today and they're asking, what should I learn? Do I learn cloud? Do I learn business tool? Whatever it is, it can be very intimidating, SAP by itself, and intimidating AWS because it's just so much. And when you combine them, even the most mature professional working with SAP for many years who may have not have been exposed to cloud, they've been on-prem, whatever the reason is, it can be very intimidating to combine the both there. So I guess one of my question is, like, if you're just starting out today and you say, I've been an on-prem ECC guy for like 20 years, and now everybody tell me cloud, and it's time. SAP and AWS, it can be intimidating. Where do you think that
like
you're
how
helping
they get started?
How's that work? And also from what you see from a partner ecosystem, how do you get the right knowledge to the right people and making sure that they're making the right decision for that longer term? Because it's a partnership, right? It's the customer with an SAP and some partners that make it happen.
We actually spend a lot of time enabling our partners. We have an amazing partner solution architect organization that is enabling partners all the time. So one of the gentlemen on my team, Alex, is responsible for recruiting and activating new partners. And so these are partners that are coming in with years of either basis or ABAP or both type of skills, and they don't know cloud skills. And so even now, even in 2024, these new partners, we are enabling them on AWS. So we're helping them figure out how to build an AWS practice in parallel with their SAP practice.
That's great.
And then we say to them, okay, now that you've done that, right, now that you've got a parallel AWS, SAP, and then we're saying, okay, here's how to connect the two. So we're creating these connection points. So we have this mechanism called the Partner Innovation Hub, where they come in and they say, okay, here's your SAP expertise, here's your new cloud skills. Let's create a joint offering in the Partner Innovation Hub, and then we help them take that to market, whether it's in our solutions library. So maybe the offering is like a joint reference architecture or solution guidance, right? Or maybe they really build some intellectual property and it becomes a marketplace offering, or it's an offering in the SAP store. So we provide a ton of enablement for partners. I would say, though, 4 years ago or so when we started, it was really more like partners didn't so much have the cloud skills. Now a lot of the partners that we work with, maybe they've got an Azure practice or a Google practice, and so they've got some cloud skills, and we're teaching them the AWS skills. But enablement is a huge part of that. And again, it's a huge part of what we do for customers. If you look at how AWS goes to market, like think about our Summit conference, think about our reInvent conferences. They're educational conferences. So we are constantly teaching and training and enabling, getting hands-on, because we know that once customers start to understand how to use it and partners understand how to use it, they're going to want to use it more. And so that's our focus.
It's that concept where I think it's learning never stops for us, because I remember having, in the old days with SAP at least, you sign up for some kind of course and you take the course. Or maybe you sign up for certification, you get it. But it never stops, because as soon as you got that done, you'd see somebody else getting something else and you'd want that one because that's the next hardest thing. So this concept of like a passport type of thing, right? So this is where I'm leading to, like an SAP. So from a partner, yes, there's an enablement tool, and then there's the customer who looks at things a little bit different, because they don't have to deal with so much the hands-on tool, but they more care about how do I plug my data into, Bedrock or Q, or how do I expose this, or BTP, SAP, and AWS, how do we make all this connection work, right? So this it's a continuing, I'd say, passport that it's almost like education for them. But unless you get the education, they're too fearful to do anything.
I know. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you think you're done learning when you get out of school, forget it. I'm like, I'm constantly taking training and classes and certifications and all that stuff. But if you love this industry, right, you have to be a learner to love this industry, because you have to always learn new stuff.
So now at the AWS booth here at SAP Insider, what would people learn when they stop by up the booth? Let's say I'm a nobody, I don't know anything about AWS and what you guys do SAP. What's at the booth there that folks can
I think the main thing that we want customers to understand, we're new partners that come to our booth, what they want to understand is regardless of where you are in your SAP journey, AWS can help you. So if you are looking at RISE, we are the cloud platform to run RISE. We are secure, resilient, reliable. SAP builds their BTP services on AWS first and then puts them on the other cloud. So we're very much a platform of innovation for SAP. So if you're looking to go to RISE, we want to be the cloud platform of choice to do that. If you're looking at maybe a hybrid approach, or you're saying, okay, I at least want to get to the cloud, and I've got RISE on the horizon, but I want to start getting some data in the cloud or whatever. And again, we've got, whether it's native AWS services or BTP services, data lakes, complementary ISV partners, right, that are in the SAP store, right? So we've got a whole community of partners that run on AWS, and it's kind of a little known fact, but a lot of the partners that the SAP store partners, a significant number of them run on AWS. So customers are using AWS even if they don't realize they're using AWS. Okay. But anyway, if you've got use cases as you're making that journey to RISE, again, we can be the cloud platform of choice for that. Now, let's say you're in RISE, right, and you've got the clean core, and now you're looking to extend your environment. We have that joint reference architecture with SAP, whether it's now it's the BTP services and the SAP services, or I'm sorry, it's the BTP services and the AWS services, too many three-letter acronyms, that can help you extend that platform. And then again, if you really want to take advantage of generative AI, here's our AI stack. As we talked about, Bedrock, we talked about Code Whisperer, so we've got a whole generative AI stack that can help customers. So it's like, regardless of where you are in your journey, you can partner with AWS and our partner community to get you wherever you want to go.
What about, you've seen the partners where they're like, our customers are happy on-prem because either security, whatever, but obviously that Gen AI is open up. I do want those use cases. And you start seeing that partners where they focus on, yes, I can keep my customer on-prem, but I have a cloud component for AI or the next use cases, and I'm going to bridge them and do something that, I guess it's a happy medium because you don't know where they start. Right?
Yeah.
That's
I don't know. Probably one of my partner solution architects could answer that better than I could. But it is interesting, right?
Because SAP said themselves, this week I said the stats is like, yes, they know about 2027, but all of the S4 licenses and stuff like that were on-prem. Are still 2018 version, 2019 version, some 2020, and a lot of them have not moved. So they're not like, they still hardcore on-prem.
Yeah.
And so the SAP RISE is interesting, but still getting the customer to move. So I feel like getting the customers to move almost needs the partner focus to get them to connect. It's like our network should be fast enough to connect to all these AI use cases in the cloud without actually do that first. Maybe do that second. Right? So that's an interesting one to think about. Anyway, Cristina, I think it's a great pleasure to have you here. And I guess for SAP Insider, what's the next big event AWS SAP gonna?
We're gearing up big for Sapphire, and hopefully we're going to be making some really exciting announcements at Sapphire. So I am really looking forward to that. So we'll have to talk to you then. And
all right, big booth. We're going to do it again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.